Hello everybody, it's Karen. Thanks for stopping by. I've got a video today that's about using pattern papers with your dies and in particular with flower dies. So I'm doing this for Craft Consortium and I'm using their papers. This is the Spring Gardens papers and I've chosen a few of these patterns. Now I tend to go for the smaller patterns for this, but I definitely think you could use those larger ones. I'm just not that brave. But this is a quick look at my Spring Garden 6x6 book. You can see it's quite well loved at this point. But there's lots of different patterns there that could all be used. And then this is the Palace Garden. And I've chosen these two papers, which for me are busier patterns. But they actually ended up being really quite nice, I thought. So here's a quick look at the Palace Garden 6x6 paper pack. And those are the two that I've chosen there. But once again, there's lots of those papers that I think you could use in making these flowers, and you'll see in a minute which flowers I'm doing. Now for the stems and leaves, I chose to use this Botany Boutique collection. There are all kinds of greens in this, and they're all florally patterns, plants, that kind of thing. So you can see here, lots of these would make really fun leaves, I think. And I chose that one piece I showed you earlier and cut the stem from that. But I'm also using the Essential Papers, the Ink Drops Organic, because, well, look at all the greens in that. It's perfect. So these are the flower dies I've chosen to use. They're both from Pixie Dust Design. I've got the lily on the left and the Virginia. Now here I've assembled one of the Virginia flowers. I've die cut everything. I've backed it with an extra layer of white on the stem, and I also put some white on the two front petals. Now you can see here a comparison. The one on the left, I haven't added that white, and I just thought the white added a really nice highlight to the pattern paper. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just offsetting this petal just slightly so there's a touch of white showing, and also on the other front base petal there, I've added the white in behind. So I'm just gluing those down together, and that's all I did, but it just really made those flowers much prettier, I thought, and not so, I don't know what the word is, but just not so difficult to see the shape of the flowers. Now I'm using stamens here. I will show you these in a little bit. But this is what I did. I folded the stamens in half, and I'm using some Scotch tape or cellophane tape, single-sided tape, whatever you call it in your country. And I'm just attaching that to the back, and then I can glue it all down together. So there is no added shaping to these flowers other than the layering. And then I just attached the stems to the base of the flower there. And so here's a closer look at them. Now the one on the left, I've used the pattern paper facing forward on all the petals, and on the right, I've reversed that at the back and just used the solid side. Now these are the stamens that I've got. They're from Amazon. I will never get through all of these, but I also don't like some of the colors. And so what I do, I'm just taking a Copic marker to these, and I'm just going over the tips of them just to change the color slightly. Now you could use alcohol inks, you could use your Copic marker refills for this. I think you could even dip them in glue and shake on some glitter. I haven't tried that, but I think you could. So there's a comparison of the color before and after. And now for the lilies, this is what I did. I just took some Catherine Pooler inks, and I'm just really quickly flicking on a little bit of color at the base of all those petals. It is nothing fancy. There's nothing refined about it at all, as you can see. I'm just putting a little bit of splash of color at the base. And so that's how that will look when it's all done. Now, here is how I shape these. I've got it on a mouse pad, and I flip it over. And you do need the ball styluses for this. Now I'm using quite a fine tipped ball stylus, and I'm just running it along the edge of the petals. And whichever side is facing up is the way that the flower will curl. So for these, if I run it along the edge, they will curl down. And so now I can flip that over, and I'll use a larger ball stylus here and just go in a circle in the center, and that's going to depress the middle of it. So now it's depressed in the middle, and the leaves or the petals kind of curl up and over. And so then I can just glue that all together. And before I attach that last petal, I'm going to poke a hole right where that petal would go. You can see the outline on that die. I just wanted to hide the hole because I'm going to feed those stamens down through this hole now. So to do that, I have a long wire that I just keep on my pegboard above my desk, and I'm wrapping a really thin piece of wire in the middle of those stamens, and I can feed that down through in my flower itself and pull it through to the other side, and then the stamens are in place. Now, often I would use my hot glue gun to attach this, but you'll see in a minute I didn't want to do that for these. It was going to add more bulk than I wanted. So once I had the stamen in place, I added the final petal to kind of cover that opening. And then for those stamens on the back, I'm using the Scotch tape again and just taping that down in place, and nobody will know except for you and me. And then on this particular lily, I just went in with a Copic marker. I think that was RV55. And I'm just adding little dots of color because some lilies have that. Okay, so to make cards, this is the Enchanted Jungle 3D embossing folder from Craft Consortium. I love this one because of all those florals there. But it has this cat on it, which I didn't want, but it's not going to matter. He'll be covered. Now this is the gunmetal mirror card from Craft Consortium. It is beautiful. It's this beautiful shade of bluey gray. It's just lovely. And so I am going to mat my embossed piece there, my card front, and I'm just arranging my Virginia flowers the way I think I want them to go. For the sentiment, I've chosen this Hugs die from Paper Rose Studio, and I've just done the outline or the shadow layer of that in white. And then the Hugs itself was actually one of the Craft Consortium coordinating papers. I might have been from the Enchanted Jungle, but I'm not entirely sure. But that is my card. It's super fun, I think, that pattern paper for the flowers. Okay, so for the other card, this is a 5x7 card base, and I've taken one of the Spring Gardens that's actually from the 12x12 paper, but you could just definitely use the 6x6 for this. I wanted some more interest, so I'm taking the Flowy Leaves stencil again from Paper Rose Studio, and I'm going to go right over top of this with some distressed texture paste in Sparkle. Now this paste will dry translucent, but it has a really nice sparkle in it. So you'll see this in a minute because it magically dries instantly on video. I may have used my heat gun on it. But you definitely want to wash your stencil and palette knife and everything else around. And there it is when it's dry. Super shiny and sparkly, just kind of fun. And so I cut that down to be, I think those were about 3/4 of an inch, those strips. And I'm just going to put some glue on the back, and I'm going to put these down on a diagonal. So I just added those down one after the other. I did think about varying the width of those strips, but I didn't do that. And then I trimmed the edges, and I'm arranging my lilies here. Now for the sentiment on this card, I'm using the Enjoy from Craft Consortium. I love this die. I think that is a perfect sentiment because honestly, that's just what you want people to do, to enjoy whatever day or occasion it is. So it's just perfect. Now I've cut the shadow layer from one of the Palace Gardens papers, and I just cut the Enjoy from white cardstock. And I'm going to say this die is on sale. It's half price right now at Craft Consortium. It's a great buy. And I'm just gluing these lilies down. I used quite a bit of glue on these just to make sure they would stay down there. They're only glued in the very centers. So I had to let these set up for a little bit. But that's all I'm doing. Now I've added some pearls there, and I've put foam tape on the back of my sentiment. And I am just adding that down to the base of those flowers again. And that's this card. Honestly, these were really quite fast, these two cards. But I think they're quite pretty. There's a lot of dimension with this one, and sparkle and pearls. And the other one is a little bit plainer, but I love the pattern paper on them. I think that's a fun way to use those papers. Thanks for stopping by. I hope you're having a great day, everybody. Hope you'll come back for the next video. Bye.